This is Kirk Cousins. Welcome back to Under Center with Kirk Cousins. You know, we like to bring in guests who like us. And Kyle Brandt is one of those guests. He's been in my corner for a few years now. And Kyle, welcome to the show.
Kirk, I am so glad I could squeeze you in. I'm in the middle of microwaving some dino nuggets for the kids. We're going to have some grapes, watch a little Bob the Builder, then jump in the Grand Chevy Caravan, put on some sunblock, and go to soccer practice. But I'm always about family, so I can always make time for cousins. I am thrilled to be on.
That is eerily similar to what my life looks like these days. You know, the biggest challenge to that entire evening you just described is getting in and out of car seats.
All right. Kirk, let's step into each other's office. So, as far as I understand this right, you got two kids, right?
That's
you have
right,
two little boys?
Yep, two
All
boys.
right, so if you got little ones, you must be constantly in the eye of the car seat storm, and it's one of the worst things in the world. I can't stand car seats because I can't do them. My wife, Brooke, and I have reached an agreement that she is going to handle the car seats because I've had meltdowns at O'Hare, at LaGuardia. We do it at the airport, in the driveway. I can't get the buckle through. I can't get my knee in, so Brooke just takes over because I throw a fit.
It's unbelievable.
What do you guys have?
Well said, and I have all different kinds of brands of car seats. We're living in different places. We're in Minnesota, then we're in Atlanta, where my wife's from. The travel, our lives are not made for a car seat life. So I look forward to when my boys are old enough to sit in the seat themselves, pull their own suitcase, pack the suitcase for themselves. But the dad life right now is the struggle bus. But good to know I'm not alone.
Oh, my God. And the car seat game has changed, as you know. Now,
it's complex.
You know, the
cup
dads
holders
and the moms they're online. They're what's the safest one? I mean, I remember growing up and we would get in the station wagon and we would just sit in the back, like facing backwards, and go on a whole road trip in the station wagon. I don't even know if we had seatbelts on.
Exactly.
Never mind car seats.
Exactly.
Now it's like you're in a NASA ship.
Well, and the other problem is I have family come into town and the boys are home with the babysitter, and now we're going to take a couple friends out, and there's going to be four of us in the car, and now we've got to take the car seats out. Because and that's just a nightmare. It's like it makes me want to just stay in and have the friends over for dinner in house because I don't want to deal with taking the car seats out and putting them back in. So
no, because that's an hour. Let's just order pizza, stay at home. We got friends that my son Calvin is 5 and he's got little friends now in the same age as him. And Brooke, my wife, will say, well, Calvin was invited for a play date over at so-and-so's house today, but the mom wanted to pick him up from school and take him, and I won't let that happen because I know that mom is not a car seat mom, and I don't want my son. And I said, honey, I know where their house is. It's 2 blocks away. Doesn't matter. If they don't do the car seats like we do, they're not going. So now we're interfering with the boys' social life. The car seats take over. They're everywhere.
It changes the game. Something I did not realize was such a big component of parenting, but here we are. So for those of you who don't know, Kyle Brandt is one of the hosts of Good Morning Football on NFL Network. He's done a phenomenal job on that. You know, I got to pump you up a little bit. I do feel like that show is outstanding. And quite frankly, you know, there's some slow weeks, some slow months in the winter, the July, where you guys have to fill a lot of time talking things. You know, you have to go down some deep rabbit holes to find content, and you do a heck of a job, and it's very watchable, and there's great chemistry with you on the set. And so I just kind of wanted to ask, what's the key to having a good morning show like that? Because I think if we changed the content, it was no longer football, and you had to talk about something totally different for a few hours, you guys could do it. So what makes you so successful?
Sometimes we do have to do that, Kirk. We actually do a whole week about, Stranger Things or whatever it is. Here's the thing, and I appreciate the compliment because what I go through is we'll do the show in the season, and it's on 5 days a week, 3 hours live every day. And then after the Super Bowl, I'll always have colleagues or people I run into, and they say, all right, that was a great season. So what do you guys do in the off season? And I'm like, what do you mean? We have the show on every single day.
Keep going.
And so I would be like, yeah, we just keep going. We don't have an off season. So, I look at a job like you have a very difficult job, but I got to say, 2 minutes left, down 5 points with the Bears in town, the Packers, whoever it may be, difficult, sure. But you try getting through 15 hours of live television when you just have the owners' meetings to talk about or rule changes. There hasn't been a game in 4 months. No players are tweeting. No one's doing anything funny. No one's doing anything dumb even. There's crickets. And then that red light goes on, and you got to say, wow, that Cowboys game in 5 months is going to be great. Let's start breaking it down.
You do a great job with it. And, true to my brand, I don't know if you know this, I live with my in-laws in the off season.
Oh, I know about this.
Okay. So I try to get away from football in the off season. I'm not trying to consume it 12 months a year, but my father-in-law, he's trying to consume it 12 months a year. So there are days where he's watching all 3 hours of your coverage in late February, mid-March, late April, mid-July. He's watching it. So my father-in-law wants to thank you, and like he said, it's very watchable. So you guys do a great job. Now, being that you do such a great job, when you got into it, and even now after being so successful, do you have goals, aspirations for where you want your career to go, or your dream job on TV, or do you say, you know what, I don't know, I'm comfortable where I am, or do you have kind of another place you'd like to take it?
Well, first of all, my new dream is I want to meet your father-in-law. What's this gentleman's name?
Mike Hampton. I think you guys would get along.
Okay, Mike, and this is Julie's father. This is correct?
Yeah, that's correct.
Okay, so he sounds like a great man. I'd love to meet him. You know what, Kirk, it's kind of weird. Like, I look at your career, and you and I have talked about this, that coming out of high school, that there weren't the huge offers, and then Michigan State happens, and just your career just took off, and I don't know if you expected to be where you are. Maybe you did when you were 14 or 15 or even 20. I'm kind of the same way. Like, I've been so all over the place and done so many strange things and eclectic jobs that now that I'm here, I'm always like kind of afraid to ask what's next. I think my wife's a little afraid too. So I want to keep doing what I'm doing. I know I like to be around sports, and I know I like to talk and entertain. But right now, I'm supposed to have my elevator speech. I'm so bad at that. In 20 seconds, what I'm supposed to be next. You know, people say.
I like that. I think that's healthy, man. Just take the next step.
I think so too, because I can't do it unless the building is 3,000 stories. I don't know what it is. I just know I'm happy now.
And I know you're doing well at what you're doing, and that if you focus on what you're doing now and you do it well, the opportunities will come, and I don't think you have to worry about it. It's just fun to talk about. But, I had another dad vibe thing come up this summer. Nike Air Monarchs. I'm not sure if you're familiar with that shoe. But
of course I am. That's the number one Monarch.
Yeah, and if you're not familiar, you need to look it up, listeners. I ordered a pair this summer, and wow. I mean, that if I didn't feel like a dad, when you put those on, I mean, you're doing it. You are in it. You're 2 feet in. I don't know if you've ever worn a pair, but you might want to consider it only maybe when you're taking the car seats in and out to really be full dad mode.
Listen, they're monarchs, right? They're kings.
Extra
you don't
wide.
Just get that name. Yeah. Extra wide. They offer a lot of support, and it's not like you're slumming it all the way down with New Balance.
Right.
I mean, this is like if New Balance put on a tuxedo,
correct,
and you want to go out and flip a few burgers or crack a light beer.
They're the Lincoln town car of shoes.
of sneakers, exactly. Yeah. The Lincoln Town Car. I think it's great. I don't have a pair of Monarchs, but I would absolutely pick one up. It's funny you do mention car, though, because, we had one of your teammates on Good Morning Football this week, your tight end, Kyle Rudolph, and he started talking about your automobile, and he had all kinds of takes on it. I don't know if you heard that.
I didn't hear it, no. What were his thoughts?
All right, so we're talking football and saying this standard stuff about how excited you guys are for the season, and somehow it came up your car, and he was saying, well, it's not the minivan. He's like, he's got this giant product sticker on the side of it, and that's the thing that really bites me. And so we had a whole back and forth about that, and then we got into, all right, well, if he's got the sticker, and God bless him for having the sticker, what else does he have? And I took a couple shots at things that I thought you might have on your car. Good. Could I hit you with a couple of these now?
Please do.
All right, and tell me either you have it or maybe you might be interested at some point in having it. All right, do you have the baby on board sign?
Oh, that would have been good. I don't know why I wouldn't, but I don't have it yet. It just goes to show there's always room for improvement.
All right, how about this improvement? Would you get a suction cup Garfield on the inside window?
Oh my goodness, this is so good. I absolutely would.
Okay. This is the ultimate. This is the filet mignon of the dad car accessories. Will the Cousins family go with the stick figure family in the rear window?
My wife is anti that, but usually anything that's cool that my wife is anti, I'm all for. Anything that's not cool that my wife is against, I am all for.
Last one. All right, and this is my favorite one. And if you haven't done this yet, I like to believe in good in this world, and I believe you will. From the day after Thanksgiving, let's say through New Year's, will you have antlers and a red nose on your car?
Oh my goodness!
You got to do it, Kirk.
This is. I mean, I should be writing all these down. Absolutely. Why wouldn't you? Yeah, we absolutely. We pretty much Ricky Bobbied our van. We went pretty far, except we didn't put a Fig Newton sticker on the windshield. But,
that's fantastic.
But we Ricky Bobbied it. It raised money for our foundation, and so it worked out pretty well. But I can understand when my teammates kind of scratch their heads looking at it when they see it.
No, that's fun. But the irony is you're going to pull in December, and you're going to have the red nose and the antlers, and who are you going to pull up next to? Rudolph. It's absolutely perfect, Kirk.
So Everson Griffin put a thread out. He said, Kirk, if you pull into the team parking lot one more day with that van, I will put it on blocks before the day is over. So it's been staying in my garage way out of sight of Everson Griffin. If I do have to park it, I park it way around the corner by the support staff, nowhere near the players, just so that Everson Griffin doesn't take the tires off.
And he probably will. But, Kirk, I'm going to pump you up now. This is why. All right, so you play the clip at the top about you're my favorite guy in the league. And someone might ask me why. Here's the reason why. Because, and I'm dead serious, as I get a little older, I have different perspective. I think about things I can teach my kids. And I have learned that I believe that the coolest thing in life is not worrying what other people think is cool. I really think that. And frankly, you do a job and you play a position where a lot of your peers, they're great athletes, and I like watching them play, but I think they try real hard to be cool. I think they say disingenuous things. I think some of them kind of act like posers. I'm not going to name names, but you are 100% authentic, dude. I absolutely love it. That's why you're my guy.
I appreciate that. That means a lot. And, hopefully we can have an outstanding year and get a lot of people on board. But before you go, I wanted to, touch base on the fact that you're from Chicago. I'm originally from the Chicago suburbs. Do you get back there much? And if so, do you ever – I found when we moved to Michigan growing up, my taste buds took a hit because, Portillo's was no longer, available in Michigan. The deep dish pizza wasn't available. Thankfully, now in the Twin Cities, there's a couple Portillo's locations. But, to just get a good Italian beef, some crinkle-cut fries, a Chicago dog, that's been few and far between for me. And I don't know with you if moving to other places has hit you the same way it's hit me.
No, 100%. I mean, I grew up drinking an ice cold pop. That's what I wanted. An ice cold pop, and I would go to the White Hen Pantry, and I would get my Slurpee.
Now you're speaking my language.
You know it, because, all right, so here's the deal. If anybody, I'm sure there's people who don't understand Chicagoland who are listening. I was born in Hinsdale and then grew up around Downers Grove, a town called Indian Head Park, and then my family moved up to the north suburbs, right around where actually the Bears facility is, Lincolnshire Lake Forest. And, Kirk, you claim Barrington, right?
I do.
I live in the East Coast now, and anytime I go back to Chicago, I mean, it's like the second I land at O'Hare, I feel kind of more comfortable in my own skin. I feel like I'm back home. So I look at someone like you. You spent a bunch of years in Washington. You moved back to Minnesota. You moved back to the Midwest. Do you feel more at home now that you're back in the Midwest?
Yeah, for sure. The Midwest is just its own deal, and
it is.
It moves at a different pace. People are just a certain way. Now, Chicago is the New York of the Midwest, if you will. So,
Totally.
That's kind of the epicenter. But at the same time, it's just good, hardworking people, down to earth, and when we landed O'Hare, if I go back and visit family or friends or drive around the suburbs, it just feels like home. But at the same time, man, growing up now growing up in small town Michigan, and then even being in the Twin Cities and living outside the Twin Cities, when I'm in Chicago, it's like, man, it's going to be 25 minutes to get anywhere, at least, if not further, because of how many stoplights and the traffic. But I guess welcome to living life in a big city.
That's it, man. And it's funny, when you land in O'Hare now, the official face of O'Hare Airport is like Brian Urlacher with hair. He's got billboards everywhere. You can't get away from it.
I kind of liked him without hair.
Chicago. I loved him without hair, and yet,
he must not have liked him without hair.
I guess not. I thought he was always very comfortable, but then he's like, no, something's got to change. I mean, he's a first ballot Hall of Famer without hair, and he decided to get that thing put in, and now he's the face of O'Hare. So weird.
Now, you went to Princeton, switching gears, which I think is impressive. I mean, a little bit about the Ivy League. Not easy to get into, not easy to stay in, not easy to graduate. It's a certain clientele getting into those places, and that you're competing with there for class rank and everything else. I wanted to hear a little bit about your experience at Princeton, because I had no scholarship offers as I played my high school senior year. My senior year finishes, and I went out and visited Princeton because I thought, look, if I'm not going to get an opportunity to play major college football, this may be a really good opportunity. You know, if I know I'm not going to play professionally, let's go for the academics and let's see where that could take me. And I mean, the quality of the stadium there, I mean, the football program. So we visited, ended up not working out, but you know, I was impressed with it. So I just want to hear your thoughts on that experience there, especially coming from Chicago, moving out there. And then also the whole senior year where you have to pick your own thesis and write an 80 to 100-page paper of your own choosing, and what that whole process was like.
I'll tell you, and Kirk, you and I have so much in common. The things you're saying, it's exactly my story. I grew up a suburban Chicago kid, absolutely obsessed with Big Ten football, and that was my dream. And I grew up, you know, it's Michigan State, and it's the Buckeyes and the Wolverines, and I was even in Northwestern when I was in high school in the 90s. Northwestern was winning the Big Ten.
Darnell Autry.
Darnell Autry I had a poster of him on my door, that number 24. I love Darnell Autry so much. He did a weird thing back then where he used to wear wristbands on his calves, which was like unheard of in 1995. And I would wear wristbands on my calves because I wanted to be Darnell Autry. I wanted everything to be a Big Ten football player, Big Ten running back, and I just didn't have it. You know, I didn't have the ability. So I was kind of stuck in that cycle where I'd get all the letters, and, you know, I'd go to the camps and I would talk to the coaches, but you could tell they weren't that interested. And, you know, maybe, you know, it got to the point where, do I want to be a preferred walk-on at Purdue? I mean, no one wants to be a preferred walk-on at Purdue, and they just don't. And then it's like, well, maybe the MAC, you know, then you kick it down to the MAC. But my dream was not to play special teams at Toledo. It just wasn't. And with respect to that program, I wanted to be a running back for someone in the Big Ten. And so when I realized I'm like, this is not happening, I said, let me just get in the best school I can possibly get into, and at the same time play some football. And it was really cool. When I went to Princeton, we opened that stadium in 1998.
Wow. It's quite a stadium. If you haven't been there, people don't realize in the Ivy League the quality of the stadiums and the feel it gives to the programs.
Yeah, it's legit. I mean, you're talking about places like the Yale Bowl and the Coliseum at Harvard. It's really cool. So I ended up, you know, your story has a different ending, obviously, but you ended up finally getting the call. So how did you go from, I don't know, maybe I'll just go to the best school possible, to playing to like a program like Michigan State? What was the moment it all changed?
Yeah, I was very fortunate. Actually, it was on my visit to Princeton, the Michigan State coaches on John L. Smith's staff got fired. Yeah. And so I texted my recruiting coach and said, you guys had been in conversation with me. You had been encouraging me to stay, you know, waiting for an offer. And then I get the text that you're fired. What does that mean? And they said, you're going to have to start over entirely with the new coaching staff. And I remember being in Princeton, New Jersey, getting that text thinking, oh my goodness, I got to start all over with whoever they hire. Well, they hired Mark D'Antonio a couple of weeks later, and immediately they reached out and said, hey, you know, we understand you were being recruited. We're going to keep in contact. And so the momentum continued. And then it was January. You know, signing day is early February. It was mid-January. I went on an official visit. And a week later, they offered me a scholarship. And so it was just this constant dialogue, and it really was the 11th hour. And there were some days where I thought, boy, should I just, you know, give up on Michigan State and take an offer or take whatever else I have? And I decided to wait, and it all worked out, as we say. But it's amazing when you look back at those decisions and how they changed the direction of your life. And another decision you made, you know, the opportunity you had in 2001 to go on The Real World, pretty cool deal. Do you feel like that was key to being able to break through, or did it really not have a lot of impact on where your career was able to go from after that?
I feel like I've been asking my question for like the last 20 years, the same question. It's strange that thing came to me. The very short version is my senior year at Princeton, when The Real World was a huge show and everyone would watch it in their rooms and apartments. It was really big. They came to Princeton just in an open call, and I went there with some friends like on a whim, and they liked me and they picked me. And I had always wanted to go to Hollywood even before that. You know, I was the guy doing theater after football practice, and it's interestingly enough, Darnell Autry played a role in that too because he was a theater major. So I always wanted to do plays and act and everything. So I do Real World, I get to Hollywood, and it's so funny. Like at that time, 2002 in Hollywood was when reality shows as a term, as a genre, were blowing up. It was The Bachelor obviously was coming, and Survivor and everything. So I would go in these in these meetings, casting meetings, to try to get some part in some show or something, and I'd be sitting there, and like the guy from Joe Millionaire is next to me, and on the other side it's the guy from Temptation Island, and like we're all in the same room, and I was like, I was in 12th night at Princeton. How the hell did you guys get in this room? Because you're on Hot or Not or whatever show you were on. It was a terrible, terrible moment. But the real world, it led me on this path one way or another. It was a really stressful, wild experience that just came into my life out of nowhere. But I don't regret it. It was fun, and thankfully it has a very, very low internet presence. So, like, my wife has never seen it. God bless her.
That's good news. Well, I'm excited to see where your career goes from here. Before I let you go, I got to ask you, touchdown dances for 2019. Do you have any that come to mind that you could recommend to me or to our team? If not, just keep me posted if anything does come to mind, because I'm always looking for new ones. I think the dead arm dance can always be brought back, but
100%.
I'm also looking for any new ones if you have any ideas. Maybe we could do some like grilling in the corner of the end zone, but I don't know.
All right, this is what you do. Because you guys set the standard, and this goes back a couple years. And Thielen is great, and obviously Diggs and Rudolph. I think what you do, Kirk, let's just bring this thing full circle. Why don't you do the celebration where you pretend like you're installing a car seat, and you just kick and get mad, and then somebody has to come over
start
and
yelling at each other, palms up,
stomp, and you do it, and then maybe in the end, like Dalvin comes over and sits in the car seat and you drive away, and it has a happy ending.
We may need some acting classes for me to be able to pull that off, but right. I think it's worth a try. Appreciate you bringing that full circle too. That's pretty good.
Anytime,
we can see your talent on display right there.
Yeah, right.
Awesome. Well, Kyle, thanks for coming on. Continued blessings on the show and on your family, and look forward to giving you a lot of content up ahead.
Anytime, Kirk. We have a lot of fun. We do the dad jokes and stuff, but I mean this completely genuinely. I like how you handle yourself. I like how you act as a leader, and you're my favorite guy in the NFL, man.
All right. I'm gonna try to make that proven true every day. Thanks, man.